Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. If you're new here, welcome. Wisdom of the Sages, it's a daily study of yoga wisdom literature. Sometimes people say it's a daily yoga podcast. They think, okay, I got sweats on. Start the yoga. I've had a couple people like, did I miss the yoga part of this? This is the yoga. This is the yoga. Actually, it's the wisdom of the yoga tradition. So sorry, we're not doing up dog today. You can do that after class. You can do up dog, down dog, Kurmasana. That can happen after class.
You can do
right
it
now here.
You can listen. You can listen to us and do that if you want to.
Yeah, you can do that. I mean, I got what's his name's always on his bicycle listening.
Who's that?
You know, who's on that bike? Anyway,
Chewy,
if you're new to
this,
and Chewy's on her bike. Is it her name is Chewy or Chewy? Chewy's like Chewbacca. Can't be Chewy.
I don't know. It says CH, right?
CHUI.
You have to
Chewy.
let us know. Chewy, let us know how to pronounce your name properly.
Yeah, because
Chewy.
Yeah, because I might have made an offense calling her Chewy.
Okay.
But I've just never heard that name. Anyway, we have a whole group of people here this morning with us on Zoom. If you want to join Zoom, you can email us. Or if you have a question on your spiritual sojourn, you can email Mara. She goes through all the questions and arranges them for Question Day on Saturday. Every Saturday is Question Day. And you can email her at wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. And we go through those questions. We try to answer all the questions we can. Sometimes it gets overwhelming. Sometimes I push them over to Sweet Baby Krishna and I answer them on that. We got some good news. Kaustubha, you want to share good news?
Oh, good news. We got a special guest coming in on Sunday morning.
Special guest.
And that'll be Moby.
Moby, the singer. He's got quite an incredible resume. He's sold 20 million records.
How about you? How are you ranking behind that? Are you in front of that?
Very, very low under that. I'm like unnoticeable.
Okay.
I'm practically speaking, not even on that map. But he sold 20 million records. And and he's going to talk about his journey, his spiritual journey from, it's hard to understand. And I had a little taste of it on my puny amount of success I've had in my musical career. You deal with fame and you deal with a lot of validation and you deal with all the stuff that goes with that. Truthfully, it's all the stuff wisdom literature warns you about. Watch out for your ego. Watch out for greed, lust, envy, anger. And it appears all these things are going to really connect us. Really, it's the things that we actually really want. Some people are still climbing that ladder. And then, he tells a story of wow, all that stuff came. And we tend to think that just desperation kills us. Success has killed many a great, taken many wonderful people down. So he tells the story about how he got taken down by success, how he hit a rock bottom, how he used a spiritual path, a 12-step path to sort of climb out of that hole. And he's sort of dedicated his life now to service. And it's quite beautiful. And I've known him for a long time.
Yeah. How did you know him?
We both grew up in Connecticut. And we both, Parmananda too, knows him. And you would probably know him, but you probably never connected. In the same way you and I hung out in the same circles, but we never connected.
We were probably in the same small room together many times.
Matter of fact, last time I spoke to him, we were at a same show together. There was a club that me and Kaustubha used to go to in New York City in 1982 called the A7. And it was in the corner of 7th and A in New York City. It opened its doors at midnight. It went on from midnight to 5 in the morning.
Maybe early,
midnight was early, right? Midnight to 5 a.m. It was the size, it was smaller than the room I'm in right now. And it was like this underground meaning illegal bar that any kid could get into. And they'd have live music. And it was a super scary neighborhood. The whole thing was scary, and especially if you're a kid from the suburbs, and it's right in the corner of Tompkins Square Park. And I last time I talked to Moby, I said, yeah, I was at this show. He goes, I was at that show. The exact same show. So it's only a small handful of people who hung out in these places. And me and Kastuba, Moby, Paramananda, maybe some of other people listening out there were at A7. But anyway, I knew him from the music scene. And the guy was an incredible guitar player back then at 16 years old, and respected. And we were just friends because we were both in bands. And that was it. Just knew each other from that. And then I watched his career take off, and I watched my career sort of like just putter.
No, he was kind of respected you for what you do with your career, which is a lot of what he's doing now, which is he's especially involved in animal rights and other causes like that. So we want to talk about that kind of stuff. So that'd be great to have him Sunday morning, but we should mention it's going to be at an unusual time because he's on the West Coast. We're bumping it from 8 a.m. on Sunday to 11 a.m. Eastern time.
For our Zoomers who are live. So our Zoomers who are live, please join us at 11. It's a super sleep in. I want you to stay up really late on Saturday night, go crazy, and then sleep in until 10, roll out of bed, make some pancakes, and join us.
Maybe you should do a special late night Sweet Baby Krishna the night before. Like everybody, stay up late.
Well, like
you
on
can
John Mastami.
You can have the screen dark and have like a flashlight under your chin and just be doing Sweet Baby Krishna.
Well, like on John Mastami, Krishna's appearance day, there's an all-day fast and then a big feast at midnight. Mm-hmm. It's like the Bhakta's special night out where you stay up all night.
We could do stuff like that for John Mastami. We could just do like an all-night Wisdom of the Sages now. Bring on different guests and stuff like that.
There's so many great things we can do.
Yeah. Okay.
Doors are just opening up. Sweet Baby Krishna Campfire. AJ Sullivan says Sweet Baby Krishna Campfire Edition.
Yeah. So, hey, there was one other thing we want to mention quick.
Someone wrote, I'm going to stay up crazy late till midnight.
It's crazy.
What are we doing? What were you saying, Prabhu?
One other thing we want to mention quick was somebody has been writing to people on our social media saying that they were a representative of Wisdom of the Sages.
Someone's been writing to our people saying they're representatives of Wisdom of the Sages.
Yes, and they're not. But we reached out to them and we asked them to cease and desist, and they have agreed. And so if you did get something like that, I think they were relatively well-intentioned.
You shouldn't go in well-intentioned with your opening gambit being a lie.
True. So in any case, if you did receive some email from someone saying that they're a volunteer, they're not. And they said they'll stop now. So just putting that out there.
It wasn't Mara, was it?
It wasn't Mara.
Volunteer in Wisdom of the Sages. Can I have your credit card number and your security code? For nothing. We just collect this data.
Mara's getting desperate now that her business has been shut down for so long.
That's not funny, Kastuba. It's not funny. Mara's about to break into tears.
Okay. Hey, what's getting late? Let's get into this show,
right.
Huh?
This is good. Okay, this is good. And tomorrow we start a new chapter.
Even today we might start. Let's see where it goes.
Let's see where it goes today.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead, Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya, bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnanatamarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 12, text 30.
Did 30. So
30.
I think we're on 31.
Okay. As the moon in its waxing fortnight. Waxing means getting bigger, right?
Bigger. Yeah.
There's waning and waxing. We don't usually say these words. If it wasn't for the Bhagavatam, I would never say, oh, the moon's waning.
Well,
the moon's
I
waxing.
If I hear waxing, I think, which one is that again? And then I think waning. Okay, that one I know. So waxing.
That one I get, waxing. Yeah. And the same thing with the fortnight. It's very Shakespearean. I will meet you in a fortnight. But a fortnight is from the full moon to the new moon is a fortnight. And from the new moon to the full moon is a fortnight.
It's a fortnight. It's also a fortnight.
It's great. It's great at keeping measurement with the moon. Who does that? Except
people that sleep outside like you.
Yeah. And werewolves and witches. Okay. So his son,
as
the moon in its waxing fortnight develops day after day, so the royal prince Parikshit very soon develops luxuriantly under the care and full facilities of his guardian grandfathers.
Okay, so the Pandavas were his grandfathers, and he was just growing nice,
luxuriantly. Just at this time, King Yudhisthira was considering performing a horse sacrifice.
Red flag right there.
A horse? What? Hey, Moby, we're having a horse sacrifice today. What do you think about this? You mean those horses in Central Park? No, this is something different. I'm going to read that again in case you missed it. Just at this time, King Yudhisthira was considering performing a horse sacrifice to get freed from the sins incurred from fighting with his kinsmen. But he became anxious to get some wealth, for there was no surplus funds outside of fines and tax collection. All right, what's going on? We're going to read the purport of this later. How are we doing this?
Why don't you read text 33 and then we'll read some from the commentary just about this.
Okay, let's just clear up the horse sacrifice controversy.
Yeah.
Understanding the hearty wishes of the king, his brothers, as advised by the infallible Lord Krishna, collected sufficient riches from the north left by King Maruta. By those riches, the king could procure the ingredients for 3 horse sacrifices. Not just one horse sacrifice, you're going to get 3 horses. Mm-hmm. Thus, the pious King Yudhisthira, who was very fearful after the battle of Kurukshetra, pleased Lord Hari, the personality of Godhead. Okay. So I can tell you for sure, the first time I read this, I came to sort of Bhakti already sort of like an animal rights guy.
Yeah.
So when I heard a horse sacrifice, every red flag was like ding 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 ding. Dude, what?
Okay, so I'm going to read from the commentary in text 34. Srila Prabhupada writes, the horse sacrifice yagna or cow sacrifice yagna performed by the Vedic regulations shouldn't be misunderstood as a process of killing animals. On the contrary, animals were offered for the yagna were rejuvenated to a new span of life by the transcendental power of the chanting of the Vedic hymns, which, if properly chanted, are different from what is understood by the common layman. The Veda mantras are all practical, and the proof is rejuvenation of the sacrificed animal. So the idea was before your eyes, an old animal would be rejuvenated.
Before your eye, yeah.
Rather than killed. And that's, so when they say animal sacrifice, they're not talking about killing it. They're talking about rejuvenation. We should just start calling it the animal rejuvenation yagna.
It sounds better than the animal sacrifice. So we're going to do an animal sacrifice. No, we're going to do an animal rejuvenation ritual.
Ceremony.
So well, they use this word yagya a lot. Yeah. How do you spell it? Y-A-J-N-A, yagya. Mm-hmm. And so it's translated as a sacrifice, but it really means a ritual. It's a ritual, like a fire yagya, a fire sacrifice.
So that's a Latin word, that's derived from the Latin word sacrifice, right? And there's a connection, like it's whatever you're doing, you're making it sacred.
Sacrament.
It's like a sacrament, yeah.
Yeah, so, but usually when we hear sacrifice, I think of some Santeria thing where they're cutting a chicken's head off, spilling the blood around.
And
it's
therefore,
not that.
Srila Prabhupada has carefully helped us understand that that's not what was happening.
Well, I say we change it back. We sometimes, I think it's okay to change it. Yeah, just change it back. We're going to be accused of trying to change the Bhagavatam. Now, just trying to clear some clarity. Okay. Animal rejuvenation ritual. That's what I'm going to say. You can kick me out of the Hare Krishnas if you want, but I'm going to say
the animal rejuvenation ceremony.
Yeah.
Okay, so
you guys start a petition against me.
So this verse, this verse mentioned that Yudhishthira, and we've read about that earlier, that he felt personally responsible for this battle and so many people that died, and he wanted to perform an animal rejuvenation ceremony, with the idea that that could bring some auspiciousness and kind of clear him up of any bad karma that was there, and so on.
By the way,
yeah,
okay, I just think, when Indians hear this, people from Indian culture, when they hear Asvamedha Yagya, I think they might have something in their mind already.
Well,
they understand what it is. Whereas the Americans are like, what? What are you talking about?
Or they may not, because, there are, within that broader realm of Hinduism, there are sects within sects. It's hard to say without saying sex. Sects. There are smaller groups within that larger group that do animal sacrifice, and it's horribly tamasic, and it's and you can see that kind of stuff in Bengal, and so
I've seen it, man. I've seen it
too, and
it's not pretty.
It is not pretty at all. So
it's not bhakti yoga, by the way.
So the Indian person might also think, oh yeah, that's what they do, right? No, this was a different thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there was a thing in this process where they would send the horse out, and I don't quite with an army.
That's a whole different thing.
That's a different thing?
Yeah, that's the challenge horse you're talking about.
Yeah. That's when they send the horse out, and okay. And then that's well, it just said they procured basically taxes from other kingdoms.
Yeah, although this story with this one is a little different, though. I think this King Maruta was like, he had some benediction where he had like tons of gold, so much so that he was like using gold plates and cups and just using them once, and there was a big pile of them, and they went there and they got it. It's something like that.
Okay.
And they brought all that.
It's great how these all have backstories.
They all have backstories, but just to go further into this idea of sacrifice. Now, if we go to the end of the Bhagavatam, 12th canto, 3rd chapter, there's some real important verses there that mention, here it's Shukadeva Goswami speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. Now he's about to die, right? Because this is 12th canto, so it's like 7 days.
We're in his birth right now.
We're talking about his birth right now. At the end of the Bhagavatam, he's about to die. Snake bird's about to come, take a
snake bird. We're going to go through all these different avatars, and like 11 cantos from now, the snake bird's going to re-enter the picture.
Snake bird's coming back. And so just before that snake bird comes, Shukadeva Goswami is telling Maharaj Parikshit, who's heard the whole Bhagavatam now, and he's fearless. He even says, there's a verse where he's like, let the snake bird come.
Bring on the snake bird.
Bring on the snake bird. So this is what he says. He says, my dear king, although Kali Yuga, why don't you tell us what Kali Yuga is, Raghunath?
Well, there's a Vedic conception of time. And it's looked at like the 4 seasons, and they're massive. And when you hear about them, it sort of humbles you to realize, oh, I'm just a tiny little speck. So in this Vedic vantage point of time, it's broken into 4 yugas or time periods, just like the 4 seasons: Sattva Yuga, Dwarpa Yuga, Sattva Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwarpa Yuga, and Kali Yuga. And we are in the last yuga here, the winter season, so to speak. And this is what things where everything gets dark quick. Kali Yuga is considered, it's described as, Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. Men are but short lives. Their memories are bad. They have bad habits. They're
dented cans.
They're dented. It's the age of dented cans. Previous yugas or millennias, they're very spiritual people. They're very connected people. The earth was more like a heaven, and it was very sophisticated. They didn't need gross technology to do the things that we're doing now to communicate with people. They communicated with their minds. all these mystical things we hear about, or sometimes we hear this person that can, it was a time that the planet was very evolved, and it became lost over time. And we think we're tend to be an evolved culture. We're actually devolving according to the Vedic vantage point of reality. And so this lasts a certain amount of time, and then we go back to Satya Yuga, just like the seasons change, just like winter comes spring. So we're in the midst of Kali. Welcome to Kali, everybody. Enjoy yourself.
You alluded to the verse that comes right in the very beginning of Bhagavatam, Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhaga Padrutaha, that in this day and age, Kali Yuga, that people are unlucky, misguided, but then it says, and above all, always disturbed. Always disturbed. And isn't it a fact? It's just like, people's minds are always, they're disturbed about God, everything, so many, it's just crazy. So when you have a mind that's disturbed, getting upset about this, getting upset about that, you can't focus it and go into deep meditation. You don't have that ability. It's just this, you've let this faculty that you have get corrupted, and you won't be able to focus it. But there's a sacrifice for each age. Along with each age, there's there's a way to make your life sacred.
A rejuvenation process.
A rejuvenation process. There's something to be offered, and through that offering, you make your time, you make your possessions, you make your body, your mind, your words sacred. And because in the Satya Yuga they had minds that were like very undisturbed, you could offer the mind through meditation, and that becomes the Yuga Dharma. The Dharma for that age is meditation. So let me
every Yuga has a Dharma.
So we're going to get to that right now. So at the end, or third chapter of the 12th canto, Shukadeva Goswami says to Maharaj Parikshit, my dear king, although Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, now this is the good thing, although we're in an age that is an ocean of faults, there's still one good quality about this age. Simply by chanting the Mahamantra, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom. And then he says, whatever result was obtained in Satya Yuga by meditating on Vishnu, and then the next stage, in Treta Yuga by performing sacrifices and the rejuvenation ceremonies and things like that. In Dwarpara Yuga, by serving the Lord's lotus feet, that means worship of the deity in the temples. Same result can be obtained in the Kali Yuga simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So in this age, although
it's almost like spirituality for dummies.
Yes.
It's like, look, you can't follow all those rituals in the temple. You can't do that. Meditation, you guys can't sit still for a moment. Listen, here's something you can do. Here's a bead bag. Go for a japa walk. You know what I mean?
Or get in a kirtan, really.
Go walk into a kirtan.
Yeah.
Walk into a kirtan and feel that and connect that way. It's truthfully the whole process of bhakti. Cook. You're going to cook something. You're going to eat today. You just offer that to Krishna. You just offer it with love. It's really spirituality for dummies. Okay. And we just don't have, we're also dented in Kali Yuga. We've oftentimes come from very crazy backgrounds where sometimes we're parenting our parents. It's not like, well, the elders are, how many times do we see the elderly and think they're so wise? Oftentimes we think, though, they're bitter, they're angry, that guy's got so many problems, the old guy that lives down the road. These are traditions where the elderly were actually wise. So anyway, Kali Yuga is crazy. And so it's made very, very simple here.
It's made simple.
Particularly
kirtan. Right, because it's hard to sit down and meditate and keep your mind focused, but in that kirtan, you get that music going, you get everybody chanting together, you get that mood flowing. Then your mind.
That's why we dance at the end of the show.
Okay,
that's part of the reason why we dance and clap our hands. If you're on live, if you watch live on Zoom, we get the whole posse to just start chanting and dancing.
That's right. So now
some people are sitting there and they don't want to do it, and I call them out. Call out culture, it's called. I find your little face and I say, what are you doing?
Okay. So in the commentary to this verse, it's mentioned that a similar verse, almost identical verse that says what the sacrifices for the different ages are, and that in Kali Yuga it's simply chanting Mahamantra. You can find, so it's mentioned here in Bhagavad Purana. It's mentioned in the Vishnu Purana. It's mentioned in the Uttarakanda of the Padma Purana. And it's also mentioned in the Brihadaranyaka Purana. So in 4 of the different Puranas, this is mentioned. It's trying to clarify, hey, in this age, the real sacrifice is this kirtan. And so it's mentioned here in the commentary. Srila Jiva Goswami has further quoted from the Brahma Vaivarta Purana concerning the degraded condition of the people of Kali Yuga, that's us, the dented cans, that thus in the age of Kali, the practices of austerity, yoga, meditation, deity worship, sacrifice, and so on, along with their various subsidiary functions, are not properly carried out, even by the most expert embodied souls. Srila Jiva Goswami has also cited the Chaturmasya Mahatmya of the Skanda Purana. Are you familiar with the Chaturmasya Mahatmya? The glories of the Chaturmasya, the 4 months of the rainy season.
Considered with the, I know the Chaturmasya, but not the Chaturmasya, not the book glorifying the Mahatmya.
No, neither. It's part of the Skanda Purana. And it's concerning the necessity of the chanting Hare Krishna in this age, wherein it says, quote, in this way, the most perfect penance to be executed in this world is the chanting of the name of Lord Sri Hari, especially in the age of Kali. One can satisfy the Supreme Lord Vishnu by performing Sankirtana, by performing kirtan.
I can say, Kastub, in a very practical, how would you explain this to to anybody walking down the street? Mm-hmm. We are sacrificing our voice.
Yeah.
My voice, and you guys know me, I'm just blah, blah, blahing all day long. If you think I'm talking just on the show and then I'm sitting in meditation after this, I'm just talking.
The whole day?
Just talk all day long. I'll talk to anybody.
If they'll listen, you'll talk. If they won't listen, you'll talk.
I'll just talk. But we take some time to say, okay, this stuff that's coming out of your mouth for this period a day, you're going to dedicate it to focusing your mind on Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna. For this time, you're going to give that time. Whatever you talk about every day, whatever, we're going to give this time. And then from that little sacrifice, it's like a planting a seed, and that seed starts to grow and starts to take over your entire consciousness. And that's what the sacrifice is. We make a sadhana as ordered by gurus, the masters. You plant that in your life on a regular basis. And all of a sudden you start to notice, and a lot of people notice this. A lot of people notice this on our chat board, that during the course of the day they can't stop thinking of these spiritual things, and it comes up and it comes up, and it happens with whatever you do, isn't it? If you sacrifice, I'm really into horror films, or I'm really into video games. Those 2 things too. You're playing the video game and you're thinking about the video game all day long. So you can do it with anything. We do it with spirit. The Vedas are made to do it with spiritual life, and it actually gives a deep connection and fulfillment as we grow, as we grow in this world. We're sacrificing our blah, blah, blah mouth for some spiritual sound and spiritual thoughts. What do you think about that?
And it's made easy through kirtan.
For dummies.
It's not, what Srila Prabhupada is trying to drive home is almost like, hey, it may sound too simple, but in this age, it's made very easy. Just have kirtan every day, just bring this kirtan. Hey, if we want to make the world a better place, let's all get together and do kirtan. It's more than just a song. It's a very powerful spiritual ceremony, that has powerful spiritual effect individually as well as collectively.
It's more than a folk song. It's like a deep prayer.
It's a deep, and it's a sonic, powerful sonic
meditation, sonic meditation.
It's a meditation, but it has influence. That's it has a powerful influence that goes beyond what we can just necessarily recognize, externally. So he was always just trying to get us to do that. And I find that when we do it, we get uplifted. When there's a project and they kind of slip away from it, it starts to go off course. When they get right back into it, everyone starts to get a clear mind, clear head, clear heart, and we move in the right direction. So he was just trying to get people to chant. He's whatever religion you're from, chant your name of God, just do it.
You know what's interesting? It really works.
It does.
I'm not just saying that.
Yeah.
And you know what's also interesting? If you're good, sometimes you're in a kirtan and you're sitting there, and and sometimes in a kirtan, I'm still in my head. I'm trying to I'm going through something. I'm still in my mind. I'm sitting there chanting, and people are clapping, and people are smiling. I'm still trying. I'm hanging in there. And then some guy grabs me, and people ever do this one? Everyone stands up and starts dancing, but you're not going to stand up. You're like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And finally, somebody grabs you and come on, let's dance. And and when you start dancing, something happens. You just lose your material mind. Whatever you're troubling you, there's a magical recipe about chanting and dancing. I can't put my finger on it, but it works. It really works. Yeah. You really feel something immediately. That's my experience.
I agree. And so if the horse rejuvenation ceremonies sound crazy and you can't quite wrap your head around, that's fine.
Sure.
Nobody's recommending that. What's being recommended is this kirtan.
Yeah. I thought we might agitate pro bows because pro takes care of horses. We're not going to go. We're not going after your horses.
He's like a horse whisperer.
He's like a horse whisperer.
Lift them up and do things with their legs, and I've seen it.
I've seen it too. That's why we're not taking any of your horses, pro. Don't worry about it.
That's
from we're not qualified. It's from a previous age.
Pro said, I do think the world could do with fewer humans and more horses.
Yeah.
True.
All right. Shall we continue?
Continue.
Can you do me a favor, Kostuba? Can you read for a little bit? Because I've got a whining cat in this room I have to put outside.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Nobody hears it. I didn't hear your cat.
You didn't hear it? Okay.
Let it whine. Let it whine.
I'll just let him suffer.
Oh, I didn't know it was suffering. I thought it was just dying for affection or something like that.
No. He just wants to get out. You read. I'll get the cat out.
Let the cat out if need be. Yeah. Okay. So text 35. Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, being invited to the sacrifices or the rejuvenation ceremonies by Maharaj Yudhishthira, saw to it that they were performed by qualified brahmanas, and that for the pleasure of the relatives, the Lord remained for a few months. So Krishna came back to Hastinapur. This is sometime later, and saw that the ceremonies for the birth of Maharaj Parikshit were done well. And Yudhishthira, even though this is just a little boy, a baby, Yudhishthira, he's not at all attached to his power, and he's just thinking of the day that, okay, this young man, will be trained well, will really care for him well, and will prepare him to take this role. And I'm ready to split when that time comes and just let go of the power that I've achieved, and focus deeply on my internal spiritual life.
So he became the next king after Yudhishthira?
Yes.
Well, okay.
Why, you doubt that? Some reason?
No. I'm just trying to put the chronological order in there.
No, that's the whole reason why we're reading all this right now. We're getting this background of who he was. That Yudhishthira was ready to let go, and that Maharaj Parikshit became the king. And then, of course, we hear about how he got cursed, which we read about.
It's the saddest part of the Mahabharata, isn't it?
When they all wander off and die?
No, they wander off to Badrinath.
Yeah. And they die on the way, one after another. Yeah.
One after another. They die when those people attack and Arjuna's lost his powers.
Well, that's before.
The whole thing is getting sad. And then Krishna disappears. Krishna leaves the planet. Why am I living here? Oh.
It's only sad on the external level, and the internal level is the best. Yudhishthira is just like his life in many ways was sad and difficult, and he's letting go of it all.
Yeah.
And that's what we all have to do too.
Okay, where are we at?
Now we're on text 36, last verse. O Shaunaka, thereafter the Lord, having bade farewell to King Yudhishthira, Draupadi, and other relatives, started for the city of Dwarka, accompanied by Arjuna and other members of the Yadu dynasty. So Arjuna just couldn't get enough of Krishna. So, you know what? I'm going to go with you now to your place. All right.
Yeah, that's it. Thus ends the purports of the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, 12th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled "Birth of Emperor Parikshit."
Okay. So now
next chapter 13. I wouldn't think we were going to get here. We got here. This is great because it's British. It's British English. Dhritarashtra quits home. No one says that in America, right?
Do they say it in England?
They do.
We got Zoe
Where's-
here. Zoe, do they say? Does anyone say? I don't
Where's
think
Raymond?
anybody does.
They do. They do. They say quits home.
David, he says yes, they do.
See, David, they quit home. I'm going to quit home now. We say we quit our job, but they're going to say I quit home. I'm leaving.
Mahesh says
Yep,
yes.
Mahesh. Yep, they're quitting.
I want to quit home, says Luke.
I want to quit home.
Coming is saying, where in England do we say that? We don't. Ed McFarland says no, and I'm English.
They do say it, Ed. Stop it. It's like a Victorian English. Kamania says never heard it. Okay,
The jury's still out on this.
We have a British Civil War going on.
We're getting a never. It's never said.
English Civil War.
Now we're hearing that it's an Indian English thing.
Oh, it's an Indian English
Maybe
thing.
that's what it was. No, but
There we go. The British Raj said
Mahesh is an Indian, and he's saying it. Maybe he hangs out with Indian people. We don't know. It's a mystery. Okay. So again, the title was
different.
Dhritarashtra quits home. Who's Dhritarashtra?
Dritarashtra is the blind king, the brother of Pandu. Pandu is Yudhishthir's father. So we're taking it back now. So basically, now these are like the grandfathers of the kingdom. And Dritarashtra, the little backstory of Dritarashtra, he was the eldest, but he was born blind, so he could never be the king. And he also had some sort of like heart issues, meaning issues in his mind and heart. He was a little envious of his brother Pandu. Pandu basically reestablished this Kuru dynasty as the emperors.
So Pandu is the father of Arjuna and Yudhishthira and all the Pandavas.
He's the father, and he became the emperor. And he kept, of course, his brother, his blind brother, in the empire, took care of him, and then also he kept his other brother, which was Vidura, who wasn't born of a noble caste, but he became a minister, and Vidura was well loved. We hear about Vidura all over the Bhagavatam. And when Pandu finally got the throne, he did something very silly. By mistake, he was on a hunting expedition. There you go. Hunting causing problems.
Hunting causes problems.
Everyone loved Pandu, but he did something wrong here. People make mistakes. He hunted, but even within hunting, there was codes of Dharma for the kings. And what happened was he shot a deer while the deer was copulating. Copulating. That means having sex making love to his deer partner. And as he shot that arrow, instead of the deer going down, he shot both of them. Instead of the deer going down, they stood up with their hooves in the air.
Nowhere does it say that they stood up with their hooves in the air. You're painting a picture here.
Well, this is how I imagine it.
Okay, fair enough.
They stood up with their hooves in the air. And
I never imagined it that way.
Well,
they just been hit by an arrow and he stood up.
They spoke. You think they were lying on the ground speaking? They stood up and they said,
hit by an arrow. People can lie on the ground and speak, especially when they've been hit by arrows. But okay, he was standing on his.
Just listen to my version
hooves.
of the Mahabharata, please. It's much more interesting. He stood up with his hooves in the air, blood dripping from his abdomen. And he said, "How dare you shoot me with an arrow? You are supposed to be a noble king, yet you have shot me and broken the codes of Dharma as a king by shooting an animal in the act of lovemaking. Actually, I'm not a deer. I'm a great sage, but I have taken this body. I've transformed my body with the mystic siddhi, Kamarupa, that I can change form." Huh?
Both of them. Both of
His wife. This is my wife. And in our position as sages, we restricted ourselves. We were celibate, but now we wanted to engage in lovemaking. So we changed our forms to make it dharmically appropriate.
I didn't know that detail. Okay.
You know, yes. And so then
you didn't tell me you didn't make that up.
I might have made it up. I might have.
I don't know what to think anymore.
It all means the same. We're going to the same place. Krishna is God. We're all surrendering.
Okay.
Let the story continue. And so when he took that arrow, he started to. Then he said, and just have you have killed me in this act of lovemaking. When you go to embrace your queens, he had two queens. Mara, name the two queens quickly.
Oh, come on, Mara.
Come on, Mara. Trivia.
On the hot seat. Name at least one of them.
Come on.
Anyone? I'm waiting for someone to help me out on the chat
I
board.
think
but I got
about
nothing.
it. There she goes. Devaki just nailed it. Madri and Kunti.
Yeah.
Kunti. So Kunti is the mother
Of
of
course.
Arjuna, Yudhishthira, and Bhima.
Yeah.
Madri became the mother of Nakula and Sahadev.
Oh God. Mara.
Sorry.
Better go back to private school.
She's not going to be winning
Go
any
back
of
to
those
Krishna
Yeah,
school.
trivia
Go back to
Tuesday.
Krishna school. Yeah, don't. All right. So anyway, the deer said, just as you killed me in this act of lovemaking, I also will curse you. When you go to embrace one of your queens, you will also die. So here he is, a king, newly married, and experiencing the joy of romance. Everybody loved him, well respected by the citizens, and now he can't even have a child, right? A son to be the next king. He didn't know what to do, and he was very bummed out. And so what happened was, Kunti, when she was a little girl, do you mind if I tell this story? When she was a little girl, because it's going to have to do with you.
I asked who Dritarashtra was. Then we went to Pandu. Now we're going to Kunti as a young lady. Yeah. I mean, I love all these stories, but let's make sure that we get to Dritarashtra at some point today. Continue, please.
It will.
Yeah.
So when Kunti was a little girl, because he can't have kids at this point. So where did his kids come from?
Right.
When Kunti was a little girl, she was just like a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14-year-old girl. And
Maybe
she was
15.
serving.
Could have been 16.
Could have been 16.
Maybe 17.
Maybe 17.
She was young.
I got to do a fact check on Kunti. But basically, she was like living with her father, the king, and a great sage came to the door. And welcome, sage, please come in. And she was very, very sweet and respectful to this sage. His name was Durvas. And you know some stories about Durvas. He gets very easily angered, very easily pleased. But she took care of Durvas so sweetly that after he was ready to leave, he said, young lady, I'm going to give you a secret mantra. And with this mantra, you can call any of the gods to come to you. And they will give you a child. And she was like, what? And she just nodded, thank you. And the sage left, gave her this secret mantra. She went up to her chambers, her bedroom, and she thought, what did he mean, a mantra where a god will come and give me a child? And she thought, let me try it. And sure enough, she chanted this mantra. I'm not going to tell you the mantra because you might get pregnant. But it's a secret mantra. And then all of a sudden, she chanted Surya Aha to Surya. And all of a sudden, her bedroom windows became incredibly brilliant with light. And whoa, the curtains opened up, and in through the windows walked this beautiful stallion of a man with a beautiful crown and incredible armor, glowing like the sun. And she's like, who are you?
He was a stallion of a man?
Yeah. An Italian
Italian. I'm thinking of Rocky Balboa.
He was sort of like Rocky Balboa in God form, the godlike form. And he came in. He said, he said, "Who am I? You called me." He said, "Are you Surya Dev? Are you Vivishwan himself?" "Yes, I am." He goes, I was given this mantra. I'm just a young girl. I didn't even know this thing would work. Oh, thank you for coming. You can go now. And he looked at her and said, I can't go because I haven't given you what you called me for. And she said, this was a complete mistake. I was trying out this mantra. I didn't know it could work. You can go now. No, I can't. You called me. And so this was a very awkward situation. She's like, I'm just a young girl. I can't have a child right now. It's completely inappropriate. My father will kill me. He said, listen, we can do it. And you will never, you called me. I have to do this act. But it'll be a virgin birth. No one will know. And sure enough, she became pregnant. This young girl became pregnant with the son of Surya. Imagine that, the son of Surya.
His name? Here's a question for the trivia.
Okay.
What was that son's name?
Mara, quick.
Karna.
Boom. Nicole got it.
Got it. And so this child was she hid this child until the last minute. And then when she gave birth to the child.
It may be that she had it like immediately, because I hear that's how the Davis have their pregnancies work. It's just like, there's no 9-month waiting period.
Well, not only that though, people do still to this day hide their pregnancy. You hear about people abandoning their child and they hide it.
Okay, but I don't know if that was the case in Kunti. This is a child of the gods.
Yeah, who knows what happens in God world, but it could have came out immediately, fully grown and educated. And anyway, this child became born, and she wrapped up this child in beautiful silken cloth, put him in this very, very royal basket, and
You're making it sound better.
It is better.
It's a beautiful basket.
It's a beautiful basket. It was you think she used a wicker basket? She's a queen. They would have sunk. It's a beautiful boat-like basket. And she floated this baby down the river. And the baby was picked up. And this was Karna, the oldest son of Kunti. It was actually Yudhisthira's older brother. And he was the one, but he befriended, and I love Karna so much, he befriended the wrong team in his teenage years. He became a great warrior, but he befriended Dhritarashtra's son. So anyway, because she had this mantra, Kunti, when she got older, she told Pandu, hey, I can have kids. I know a secret mantra. And then she called all the gods. And that's how Arjuna is born of the god Indra. Yudhisthira is born of the god Yama. Bhima is born of the god Vayu, the wind. And then Madri used the mantra. She taught Madri, the co-wife, the mantra. And she had the twins. So these are the 5 Pandavas, Yudhisthira being the eldest, and Arjuna being the hero of the Bhagavad Gita, of the Mahabharata. But at the same time, so that was Pandu's children, his sort of stepchildren. At the same time, his blind brother had 100 children. I think actually 101.
One daughter, I think.
One daughter.
Sons, right?
Yeah. And so when the kids were all like 12, 13, so what happened, Pandu ends up having sex with one of the wives and dies. And so there's no father. Here are these great heirs to the throne, but they're only 12 years old. And they have these cousins born of the blind king. And they're about the same age. And they have to go back, the children and their mother Kunti go back to live in the kingdom with the blind king. And they're thinking, and the blind king's left to like be the surrogate father for these children. But in his heart, he wanted his children to be the king. And the brother, the cousin, Duryodhan, the eldest son of the blind king, he really wanted the kingdom. He didn't want Yudhisthira to be the king. And this is where the whole fratricidal war began. What was rightfully Yudhisthira's kingdom, it was usurped by the father. So now the father, this is an important start because we're going to fast forward to the end of the Mahabharata, where the war is over, right? Yeah, this is when it comes in. The war is over. And Dhritarashtra, after everybody's dead, and Dritarashtra basically tried to kill Yudhisthira, his nephews. Now,
he allowed his sons to, right?
Yeah, he sort of gave them the blessings to do it. He basically caused the entire war.
It's in one sense, it's all Dhritarashtra's fault because he should have gotten his sons under control. But even though he knew they were wrong, even though he knew that they had such evil intentions, and even though the other brother Vidura was always counseling him and others, like, hey, you should love the Pandavas the same way that you love your own sons.
Yeah,
you should care for them. You should not allow your sons to behave the way that they behave. He just could never quite let go of that attachment. And
Dhritarashtra was such an enabler. That's what Bobby always says. But the beautiful thing about, and Yudhisthira shows incredible Vaishnav etiquette here. Yudhisthira said, even though he won the war, and Yudhisthira won the war, and Dhritarashtra was the cause of the war, he still allowed Dhritarashtra in the kingdom and treated him like an honored elder, even though he was the cause of all the deaths of everybody. Yudhisthira was just very kind. And so here's the point where Vidura, the other brother, who ended up getting thrown out of the kingdom by Dhritarashtra, he comes back from pilgrimage and he's going to look at Dhritarashtra. He says, Dhritarashtra, you're an old man. You're dying. You're living at the mercy of Yudhisthira, who you tried to kill. It's time for you to get focused on your life, like you're about to leave your body. Get out of here. Get out of here. Retire to a holy place. Take your spiritual life seriously. You've wasted your life. You're at the end of your life. Take it seriously now and get really focused on your spiritual life. And so Dhritarashtra quits home. It's an exciting chapter. That is sort of the preamble. Can you call it the preamble?
Okay. Yeah. It's like
The prologue.
call it whatever you want. It was great.
It's a prologue. Is that after or before?
That would refer to before.
Okay, the prologue.
I think, right? We're really bad. We're uneducated.
We're uneducated. That's why I turned to Mara and I realized she retained nothing from that private school. She's probably got some good field hockey stuff going on.
Prologue is before. You were right, Roga.
Okay.
Epilogue is after.
Okay, thank you. All right, Kostuba.
I'm looking forward to the chapter tomorrow because we get Vidura back in the picture now. Like he's great to hear from. One of my favorite characters, Vidura.
Me too.
Raghunath? Yeah.
I love Vidura.
Yeah, you gotta love him. What's with the technical difficulties? What's happened, bro?
I need a DJ.
Well, I
need Moby to be my DJ on the show on a regular basis. Like I can start scratching. The DJ still scratch. There we go. Thanks, everybody. What a fun show today. This chat board. If you want to join this crazy Zoomer cult we've got going on here, they're a fun group of people. And we have 108 people listening today. What?
Now.
What? Thanks,
Nobody
everybody.
can cut out. Oh, someone just cut out. It sounds
Someone just cut out. 107. Mara, if you want to email Mara, get on our Zoom group, join that little club. You can. Email Mara at wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. If you had a good time today, support our cause. Join us at Wisdom of the Sages, patreon.com/wisdomofthesages, because we are a community-supported podcast. Thank you for all your support. Those who are supporting, we really appreciate it. We want this boat floating, and you're all helping us. Thank you so much. And once you get on that Patreon, we have lots of classes for you that we're offering up this week, including Sweet Baby Krishna, which is going to happen this week as well. And what else do I want to say, Kostub? If you've got a question, write it down on question day.
Oh, we got a question day coming up. Yeah, so
hurry up on that. If you like the show and haven't done it, go to Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review, please.
Tell your friends about Moby being on the show.
Oh yeah. If we went to go to Instagram, find our flyer that Kostuba made. Kostuba's so artistic, isn't he, Mara? And this beautiful flyer.
On Facebook,
copy that, take a photo of that, put it on your Instagram page or your Facebook page or your stories, and
link it over.
Link it over. What's that?
Link it over.
Yeah. Link it to us. Is that what you said? Link it?
Yeah.
Link
Not
it to
President
us,
Lincoln.
and then share it. And then let's grow this community. We should have millions of people on this chat board every morning. We should have everybody here in the Bhagavatam every morning. There's so many more people that are sort of struggling in the material world. They're not dancing at 6 a.m. on their seat like Mahesh and Bhavani. I'm not even looking at them, and I'm just assuming they're doing it. Even Jackson O, he's dancing from bed. Christy Coral, yes, keep dancing. Thanks everybody joining that I didn't say good morning to. Clifford Dean losing his material mind today. Krishangi from Finland. David G giving us the 411 about what they say in England. I don't even know if they say 411. It might be an American thing. Ananta Devi Dasi, thanks for that kind email yesterday. Jimmy, Sean Murphy, Trucking. Ed McFarlane. Who else joined us late today? Golden Brown family is here. Right. I want everybody to put their real faces on this thing except the Golden Brown family. I want to keep you guys a mystery in my mind. just like I make the Mahabharata come to. It's important just hear these stories. That's called imagination, Kostuba.
But they weren't standing on their rear
They were
hooves.
standing on 2 legs.
It doesn't make any sense.
Speaking with a British accent.
It's got to make some sense.
They were speaking. I even had what accent they were speaking in.
Was it wearing
Like a
a monocle and
it
had
was
a mustache and a top hat, or
It wasn't Mr. Peanut.
the cane? If I got hit by an arrow and I was standing on my hind legs, I'd probably have a cane.
Yeah, he had a crutch under one hoof shoulder. He spoke with a Cockney accent.